Hello and welcome to Prime Minister's Questions with me, Graham Hughes. I'm going to try not to swear. That's what it's called, SFW PMQs. Anyway, we're going to crack on now. I'm going to turn the sound on and play. We have Lindsay Hoyle announcing the beginning of Prime Minister's Questions.
Cat Smith.
Question number one, Speaker.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I have been asked to reply on behalf of my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister. He is currently travelling to Japan to attend the G7 summit. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that colleagues from across the House will join me in congratulating Liverpool for its wonderful staging of the Eurovision Song Contest on behalf of Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others, and in addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Cat Smith.
The Royal Lancaster Infirmary is a 130-year-old crumbling hospital and was meant to be one of the government's 40 new hospitals. However, the funding announcement has been delayed 4 times already, so can the Deputy Prime Minister reassure my constituents that this is not going to be another broken Tory promise?
I can absolutely assure the Honourable Lady that we remain fully committed to those 40 hospitals from our manifesto, and indeed we have already provided £3.9 billion worth of initial capital.
Okay, that should be better, I hope, the echo.
Mr. Speaker, I have a very serious matter affecting every constituency.
Let me know if it's still echoing.
To my right honourable friend's attention.
40 hospitals.
Amazon have been facilitating the sale
right.
of counterfeit postage stamps from China, virtually perfect except for the barcode. I've contacted the NCA, the National Trading Standards, and I'm afraid I've received woeful responses. I've now sent my concerns to the Serious Fraud Office and the Economic Crime Unit of the City of London Police. Amazon are patently facilitating remittances of illegal gotten cash, and I believe this is in contravention of the Forgery and Counterfeiting Act 1981. Can my right honourable friend assist me in taking this further?
Well, Mr. Speaker, may I pay tribute to my honourable friend? I know how hard he has been campaigning on this important issue. The Home Secretary will have heard his remarks. I would say that the Digital Markets and Competition and Consumer Bill does put duties on those platforms.
New computer.
And ultimately,
God, this is boring. I'm so bored already. Are you bored?
Should take action.
Don't buy from Amazon.
To the Deputy Leader of the Opposition, Angela Rayner.
Oh, good. Like a bit of Angela Rayner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's
a
pleasure to welcome yet another Deputy Prime Minister to the dispatch box. The third deputy that I've faced in 3 years.
My God.
And you know what they say? The third time's a charm. And I'm also pleased to note, Mr. Speaker, that the Prime Minister has a working class friend, finally.
Oh.
I seem to remember that after the loss of 300 Conservative seats at last year's local elections, the right honourable gentleman resigned, saying someone must take responsibility.
Yeah.
After 1,000 more Conservative councillors have been given the boot by voters, who does he think is responsible now?
Oh, stick that knife in.
Mr. Speaker,
I like Angela
in
Rayner.
the spirit of the Right Honourable Lady's opening remarks, can I just say it really is a pleasure to see the Right Honourable Lady here today. I was, though, expecting to face the Labour leader's choice for the next Deputy Prime Minister if they win the election. So I'm surprised that the Lib Dem leader isn't taking questions there.
What?
And Mr. Speaker, you will forgive me, Mr. Speaker.
This is the party that went in with the Lib Dems and had the Lib Dem leader as the Deputy Prime Minister in 2010.
With a pinch of salt. After all, she confidently predicted that the Right Honourable Member for Islington North would one day be Prime Minister.
Oh, they're still going on about Corbyn. They're still going on about Corbyn.
Scrap Trident,
got absolutely nothing,
from
have they?
And abandon Ukraine. And what did she say to that? She couldn't wait for him to be Prime Minister.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's absolutely amazing that while the Labour Party is preparing to govern with a Labour majority, his party party is starting to prepare for opposition, Mr. Speaker. And this week at the National Conservative Conference, a member for Devisers blamed the country's problems on a new religion. He even hit out at the dystopian fantasy of John Lennon. The member for Pentonstone and Stockbridge said identifying falling birthing rates is the overarching threat to the UK. She criticised woke teaching for destroying children's souls and causing self-harm and suicide among people. And the Right Honourable Member for North East Somerset really let the cat out the bag when he said parties that try to gerrymander end up finding their clever schemes come back to bite them, as dare I said we found when insisting on voter ID. The Right Honourable gentleman opposite, while working in number 10, said he had to listen to the radio every morning to find out what was really going on in the country. Apparently, he was surprised on a daily basis by what he learned. And most of his time was spent on day-to-day crisis management. 11 years on, Mr. Speaker, nothing has changed.
Oh God, Miriam Kate, his penis stone.
I'm not quite sure what the question was then, Mr. Speaker. But if she wants to talk about this sort of thing, we all know what's going on with her and her leader. It's all lovey-dovey on the surface. They
Wow,
turn
Kate
it
is
on
worth
for the
$5 million.
cameras, but as soon as they're
Bloody
on,
hell.
it's a different story. They're at each other's throats.
I'm not.
Mr. Speaker,
Super chats are open, by the way.
British politics.
This is quite personal. It's not really getting to the meat of the issue here that Jacob Rees-Mogg admitted to political malfeasance.
The reality is, after 13 years of Tory rule, they're still lurching from crisis to crisis and wallowing in their own mess. They can't solve the crisis because they are the crisis. The honourable member opposite should take more note of what's happening at his conferences
Sunak's gone
in
to
his
some
party
conference
before trying
on the
to
other
make
side of
up
the planet.
what's happening in mine. The Prime Minister pledged that by March, NHS waiting lists would fall. It's now May. So can he tell us, since he made that pledge, is the number of people waiting on late waiting lists higher or lower?
Yep, straightforward question.
Mr. Speaker, we are making good progress, for example, with
Not shouting higher.
waiting lists.
Making good progress.
The Honourable Lady seems to forget a crucial fact. The United Kingdom
Tories are the worst.
experienced an unprecedented pandemic.
So does everywhere else in the world, mate. That's why it's called a pandemic.
GP satisfaction was high. Delayed discharges were half. Ambulance targets were being met. And she knows that right now, in Labour-run Wales, exactly the same challenges are being faced. The difference between us is, on this side of the House, we've got a plan to fix it, while she's too busy playing
Really?
petty
What's your plan?
politics.
What is your plan? Are they doing this playing politics nonsense? They just come up. It's like we should have Prime Minister's questions bingo. I'm going to set that up now. I've got a bit more kit.
That this government, after 13 years
The vaccines
in power,
drink.
is blaming everybody.
Make some little animations for the things that they always go on about.
Are having to put up with. He appears to be claiming that 11,000 patients waiting more than 18 months is an achievement. The last Labour government reduced waiting times from 18 months to 18 weeks, and he can come back to me when he's achieved that. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, waiting lists are longer
kind of Ginge versus
than when
Ginge,
the
this
Prime
isn't it?
Minister
Ginge on
made his
Ginge
pledge
action.
5 months ago. The number of people in England waiting to start hospital treatment is the highest since records began. 7.3 million patients left waiting.
7.3
now, I know
million.
the Prime Minister has his
they're
own
making
private
progress.
GP, so maybe he doesn't appreciate the urgency. But he's left people like my constituent Carol waiting for over a year for an urgent appointment. Moved from waiting list to waiting list with appointments
We'll make a list.
cancelled
We'll do that on Discord. We'll make a list.
If not now, when will waiting lists fall?
And every time they use the word delivering.
At the end of this question. The more, if I get any more interruptions, it will take longer.
And every time Lindsay
Mr.
Hoyle
Speaker,
mentions a cup of tea.
They don't want to hear the question because they know the answer. They know the answer is that they failed the British people. So when will waiting lists fall?
It's a good little soundbite there. Love that. Well done.
Well, I would gently say to the Right Honourable Lady, if she cares that much about access to our healthcare, why is she opposing our minimum service levels? They will provide core emergency services with vital cover during healthcare strikes. Does she not think that vulnerable patients deserve that level of care, or is she too weak to stand up to her union paymasters?
Mr. Speaker, we all want minimum service levels. It's this government that have failed to provide minimum service levels in all of our trains, in all of our public services, because they've run them down and mismanaged them for the last 13 years. Now, it's not just waiting time, Mr. Speaker.
I'll get some overlays, don't worry. Really good idea, that.
Review into child poverty, Sir Michael says this government is on track to make child poverty worse, with more than a quarter of our children living in poverty last year. When I was a young mum, I remember the sick feeling in my stomach not knowing if my wages would cover the bills. Yet his government has taken a wrecking ball to measures by the last Labour government to eradicate child poverty, even abolishing the child poverty unit. They tried to justify this by saying they no longer needed a child poverty unit because they've abolished the child poverty target. So can he tell us what level of poverty he considers to be a success?
Unbelievable, isn't it?
I'd say to the Right Honourable Lady, this comprehensive schoolboy is not going to take any lectures from the party opposite about the lives of working people. What I would say is that we have introduced record increases.
He's not going to take any lectures because he went to a comp. He's the only person on that front bench who went to a comp.
Failed to do so.
It's ridiculous.
And we have taken 1 million working age people out of poverty altogether. That is the record of my party, and one of which I am very proud.
You've plunged hundreds of thousands of children into poverty.
Mr. Speaker, the last Labour government made it their mission to reduce the number of children in poverty by 1 million. We achieved that. Under the Tories, child poverty is nearly back to the level it was when Labour last inherited the Tory mess. After 13 years of the Tories, they're stuck in a conveyor belt of crisis. And while his party is preparing for opposition with their Trump Tribute Act conference over the road, Labour are focused on fixing the real problems facing British people. The Tories have picked their side. They're for the vested interests, for the oil companies and the bankers, for those that are profiting from the crisis and not suffering from it. Whether it's failing the millions of people anxiously waiting for treatment or overseeing a rise in child poverty. And while his colleagues spout nonsense at their carnival of conspiracy, I want to know, when will his party stop blaming everybody else and realise that the problem is them?
Mr. Speaker, I will proudly defend our record in office. Crime down 50%.
No, that's nothing to do with you. That's a global phenomenon.
Record minimum wage.
Record minimum wage. It can only go up. You've been in charge for 13 years. It's below inflation increases, by the way.
Already broken. And one leader
what promises? They're not.
Run wild.
Oh, he's going on about Corbyn again. That was like 4 years ago, mate. That was like 4 years ago. Build a bridge, get over it. It was 4 years ago.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Would my right honourable friend please send his condolences to the family of Hilton Ward councillor Gillian Lemon, who at the young age of 52 tragically died partway through the election count on Friday. This means that the whole election for all 3 councillors has had to be voided, even though the returning officer was ready to declare 3 Conservative councillors for the Hilton ward. Perhaps following this dreadful experience, my right honourable friend will confirm that the best way to thank Councillor Gillian Lemon for her service is for the good people of Hilton Ward in South Derbyshire to vote again 3 times for the 3 Conservative candidates on Thursday the 15th of June.
What? You just say the best way for an independent civil servant.
May I extend my deepest sympathy on behalf
I can't believe she just said that.
And the Conservative
That is shocking. She just said a returning officer, someone working in the polling.
And she was a strong representative of South Derbyshire. And like my honourable friend, I do hope that the people of Hilton Ward will reflect on this by voting for Conservative candidates at the forthcoming election.
Okay, well maybe it was a politician then. But even so, I mean, God, that's pretty sickening.
In 2016,
Mary Black.
the Deputy Prime Minister told his constituents in a blog that it was his duty to, and I quote, furnish them with all the facts that are available with regards to Brexit. Today, Brexit Britain faces higher food prices, a lack of workers, a shrinking economy, and a decline in living standards.
Yep.
Why is he happy to ignore those facts?
Yep.
The Prime Minister.
She's never dig at Labour there.
Mr. Speaker, we have
probably
one
right
of
on the
the
next question.
fastest growth rates in the whole of the G7 since Brexit. And we all know, and in fairness, we all know the policy of the SNP. And they said it this weekend, and I quote, we need to undo Brexit. But let me tell you...
Yes, we do. We absolutely do.
If I were them, I'd start by undoing the mess they've left Scotland in and start working with the United Kingdom government and focus on the priorities of the Scottish people, not the priorities of their party.
Bernie Black.
Check the data. Mr. Speaker, the only thing more deluded than that defence of Brexit is the Labour Party's support of it.
There you go. Todd should have a dig at Labour.
Today, the world's fourth largest car manufacturer said that Brexit was, and again I quote, a threat to our export business and the sustainability of our UK manufacturing options. Even Nigel Farage can admit that Brexit has failed. So, Mr. Speaker, why can't he?
Deputy Prime Minister.
I would say to the Honourable Lady, one of the best ways of getting behind industry in this country is get behind the trade deals we're striking with many countries around the world.
The trade deals worth nothing. Worth less. Worth less than any trade deal we've had in the past.
Build a new Scotland. I don't know whether she's aware, but the SNP have been in power for 13 years.
So have you. You've been in power for 13 years. And the country is on its knees.
Of the Scottish people.
Duke, we can just rejoin the EU. I'll make a video about it.
My constituency has a problem with travellers.
I have a problem with you. I have a problem with you.
Pitching on private land.
God, she's going after gypsies now.
Causing a nuisance.
You cause a nuisance. Go, why don't you stand in Liverpool? Why don't you stand in Liverpool, you Belvedere bellend?
Or they do have sufficient powers, but
that's the name of the school she went to in Liverpool, Belvedere. Very posh. Private, of course.
Get the government to speak with Cheshire Police to ensure that they do
have
the powers to deal with this plight on our local community, and that they use them.
You horror show. Sit down, Esther McVeigh.
Well, the Right Honourable Lady, my right honourable friend, is absolutely right to highlight the misery caused by unauthorised encampments.
The misery caused by Conservatives. That's what we need to be talking about here, mate.
Home Office officials do regularly liaise with the National Police Chiefs Council on this.
Here come the stupid questions.
My right honourable friend, the Home Secretary, will have heard my right honourable friend's representations, and I trust
no offence to my friends who went to Belvedere, by the way. They're all right.
Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Prime Minister will be aware of the ongoing concerns of unionists in Northern Ireland about our ability to trade freely within the United Kingdom and its internal market, given the continued application of EU law on the manufacture of all goods.
It's not fair. We want to Brexit. It's not the Brexit we wanted.
That could potentially create further barriers to trade between Northern Ireland and Great Britain.
Shut up, you slab of gammon. Shut up and sit down. You got into bed with Boris Johnson and you've caught a sexually transmitted infection. What were you expecting, mate?
I would like to say that we've already
I didn't expect the leopards eating people's faces party to eat my face.
Within the union, and we're committed to providing exactly the protections that the right honourable gentleman referred
what protections?
to around Northern
We've got a
Ireland's
border in the North Sea because we have
United Kingdom market.
You have a border in the North Sea?
I can give those assurances, and of course we stand ready to work with the right honourable gentleman and representatives across unionism to reflect the further steps required to strengthen our precious union.
Angela Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Throughout the early hours of Saturday morning, I was out with Kathy, Peter, Joe and Tim, who volunteer as Guildford Street Angels. I paid tribute to them and all the volunteers
when they abandoned in the 1970s, or was that Dave Dozy McIntitch?
It's an absolute disgrace that the Liberal Democrat-run council shut
your
the
disgrace.
Blues.
Oh, shut up.
At night, there are no single-sex spaces for our young women, and they are seeking out dark, secluded areas of their court short, which is dangerous.
Yep. So why don't we have more
Risk of
toilets?
sexual
Yeah.
assault. Will my right honourable friend join me in calling for the immediate reopening of the town centre loos in Guildford?
Why Guildford? Just everywhere. But also, you can have a scheme where people can use the toilets in cafes and bars, and a portion of the cleaning fee of those cafes and bars' toilets are paid for by the council. It's a much cheaper and more effective and a safer way of doing it. But they won't think of that.
And I'm sure that they and she
Transphobic dog whistle, says Katrina. Yeah, absolutely.
Guildford Borough Council.
Think of the children.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Many of my constituents are struggling to pay the bills and put food on the table. Food prices have risen by over 19% in the last year, with the cheapest infant formula up 45%, gas prices up 129%, electricity up 67%. Many report borrowing more money than this time last year, with car manufacturers threatening to move production. The OB are saying 100 billion has been lost from the economy forever, and wages falling further and further behind.
I think if they're right honourable, they're part of the government, and if they're just honourable, they're just a member.
This government's kamikaze Brexit is delivering for the people of these isles.
I think.
Deputy Prime Minister.
I certainly do believe that, Mr. Speaker, and I would say to the members on those benches,
Naughtiness is down since the 90s due to lead removed from petrol.
United Kingdom, that we're able to afford the sort of interventions, for example, that we've had with the cost of living,
public toilets and travellers.
£3,300 for every single family in our United Kingdom, paid for by...
So I'm just going to pause it there. I just want to say a quick word about what Esther McVeigh just said about travellers. It was about demonising travellers, and I know that some people have had problems with travellers in their area in the past, and I understand that, but she wasn't talking about helping them. She wasn't talking about having permanent sites for travellers to live, where their children can go to the local schools and all that kind of stuff, you know, facilitating the lifestyle of travellers. No, none of that. She just wants to move them on, basically, because that's the Tory way. Anyway, back to this prattling moron.
75% windfall tax on oil and gas companies. That's the United Kingdom delivering on the cost of living.
Daniel Kaczynski.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oh,
in 2016, we secured over £300 million for the modernisation of A&E services.
This is the guy who wanted Poland to step in and make Brexit happen.
That money has still not been spent, and construction hasn't started. I have a real concern about the quality of managers within our local NHS trust, that this decision has not been taken. What can my right honourable friend do to help us in Shropshire to ensure that finally the £312 million is spent and that A&E services are modernised, because there is nothing more important than the safety of constituents when they go into A&E services?
Deputy Prime Minister.
I pay tribute to my honourable friend for raising this issue. I know that his constituents are anxious for building work to get underway as soon as possible. And I know that the Department for Health are working closely with NHS England and the Trust to support the development of the scheme. And the Trust is due to submit plans.
I love Emmy's comment. Oh, shut up, Jeffrey, you horrible little git. Northern Ireland is broken, absolutely broken.
To review those plans.
Nothing can be done to get back to work. It's DUP refusing to form a government in Stormont.
Leaseholders in Battersea are trapped in an outdated and unfair leasehold system.
Yes.
The Secretary of State said, and I quote, "The government would absolutely maintain a commitment to abolish the leasehold system and would bring forward legislation shortly. But we now know that this is no longer the case." So, Deputy Prime Minister, why has the government yet again done another U-turn and yet again broken another promise to leaseholders to scrap its plans to end the outdated leaseholder system?
Yeah. Come on, answer that.
I'd like to reassure the Honourable Lady and members of this House that
Come
the
on,
government
that's
is
horrible.
committed to
Please,
reforming
come on.
the leaseholder system.
Do you want me to vomit all over my table here?
Control and give cheaper access to leaseholder renewal, including a 990-year extension with zero financial ground rent. And we will set out plans for further reforms later in this Parliament.
Lies.
Sir Desmond Sway.
Oh, God.
What would be a reason for extending the general election franchise to settled EU citizens, a population of voters equal to the number in Wales?
Well, I think
what was that? What even
honourable
was that?
friend is referring to the plans from the party opposite. And it's actually quite interesting that this week, while we're pushing ahead with legislation to break
legislation
the smuggling gangs,
make sure that
Labour's
people
big
can't
idea?
vote in an
Give
election.
foreign nationals a say in
Your
our
former leader of the
elections.
House admitted to it,
So
mate.
there we have it. While the Conservatives will stop the boats, Labour will rig the votes.
Fuck, I can't swear! For crying out loud!
Mr. Speaker, I was concerned to read last week that the Prime Minister
Hate them.
had to be
Hate them.
airlifted to a pharmacy in Southampton after suffering electoral dysfunction. Several weeks earlier, he flew all the way
Very
from
good.
Lancashire to Yorkshire by private jet. Meanwhile, angry rail commuters face the reality of cancellations, longer journey times,
Yeah.
and are
Trans-Pennine
unable to
Express.
get to work on time as operators shed services. The public think that the Prime Minister's got his head in the clouds. They're right, aren't they?
It is quite extraordinary, Mr. Speaker, to take lectures from the party opposite about the railways when actually the head of the train drivers' union actually sits on Labour's NEC. And indeed, she was described by the Right Honourable Lady, the Deputy Leader of the Labour
What?
Party, as, quote, one of us.
Yeah,
No wonder
what's
Labour
that got to
won't
do with
stand
anything?
up to the militant rail unions.
It's
They
not the militant
literally
rail unions that are the
drive
problem,
their
mate.
policies.
It's your terrible privatised piecemeal system that you have in the British transport system in this country.
Work is taking place on Teesside, led by our mayor, Ben Houch.
Oh, this is dodgy. Is this the land that you sold for £1?
To smear the amazing Teesworks project, led by the Honourable Member for Middlesbrough, who I've given advance notice to. Will he confirm that it was always an integral part of the business case that the private sector should co-invest alongside government, and that the Teesworks arrangements
Smears.
themselves
This is
have been
uncovered
checked
by the
and
private
approved
eye,
by
and it's
the
shown that
government?
they basically
And will he
sold off
reconfirm his full support
millions of pounds
for the
worth of
Teesworks
land
project,
for
reassure
like £100
investors, and join me in calling for the Labour Party to apologise for talking down Teesside.
Talking down two sides. Remember this, talking down the country. If you say anything against Brexit, you're talking down the country. Yeah, I'll talk down idiots who voted for Brexit. Come on, bring it on.
It continues to attract billions of pounds of private sector investment, creating jobs and supporting the local economy. And I think the whole House will see through the inexcusable attempts by the Labour Party
What?
to talk down those successes
What?
on Teesside, where local leaders are working
Honestly, what is he on about?
to improve that region for the
Talk
first time
down.
in a generation.
You're talking us down. Stop talking us down.
Mr. Speaker, in 2011, the first year that the Tories came into government, 61,000 people received emergency food parcels from food banks. In 2022-23, that figure had gone up to nearly 3 million. 1 million of them children. It's gone up every year that the Conservatives have been in power bar one. So, will he tell the House, is that a record that he proudly defends?
Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it
I'm
is.
very proud of the fact that this government has given record numbers of people the opportunity to have
The pound
jobs
is anti-Britain.
and employment,
I like
which
that.
is the surest route out of poverty. And it is the case that I believe up to 3.6 million new jobs have been created under this government.
New jobs,
Mr. Speaker, it's truly
millions of jobs
excellent
lost,
to see
millions of
England rising up
businesses
the international
failing.
league tables for reading to become the highest performing country in the Western world. That's testament to the hard work of our teachers and the dedication of our
Hard work of the teachers, nothing to do with you, despite you, despite you and your
If
grift.
children are in school regularly, able to learn. So can I strongly commend to him and to the government the 10-minute rule bill presented by my honourable friend Phil Valley. It has cross-party support, delivers on key recommendations of the Education Select Committee
Like what?
and the Children's Commissioner. The
Like
government
what?
should adopt it as soon as possible.
Well, my honourable friend is absolutely right to highlight those brilliant figures which show that we've now jumped to the 4th best in the whole world for reading.
Wow,
And I
the Tories
certainly
sold the
see
site for
in
£100
schools
and the
it's
scrap
much
metal
more
of the industrial
demanding
site
than it
alone was worth
in my
90
day,
million
and that's
quid.
tribute to the ministerial team that have done such a fabulous job. I will, of course,
Here we go. Using a
examine
food
the
bank,
details
get a
of the
job.
10-minute rule bill to which he refers.
Tommy Shepherd.
Mr. Speaker, it is an open secret that many in the Conservative Party would wish to roll back the democratic gains of devolution either in part or completely.
Yeah.
The noble Lord Frost, former minister, the architect of the disastrous BRICS agreement, and now I believe seeking a safe Tory seat in this chamber,
because he wants to be
recently let
leader of the
cat out of
Tories.
the bag when he said the government should review and roll back some devolved powers.
Just try it.
Wow.
Does the Deputy Prime Minister agree with him?
Good question.
I would say to the honourable gentleman, the only thing that will destroy devolution is a vote for independence in Scotland, as advocated by those on those benches.
Answer the question. Answer the question.
Matt Hancock.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And can I congratulate
What?
my right honourable
How is
friend
this?
on a brilliant
What is this guy? How is he allowed to ask a question?
Will he keep the government laser focused on the issues that matter to people
Oh my
like
God.
the cost of living in the NHS?
Oh my God.
And on the issues of the future.
This
like
is the
artificial
worst. This is the
intelligence,
worst
which
politics.
needs
I mean, God,
regulatory
this is
attention,
the worst of a bad bunch.
and ignore the reactionary voices, no matter where they come from.
The reactionary voices.
Well, my right honourable
my
friend
God.
is absolutely right.
Shocking.
To highlight
Shocking.
I'm incredibly
If I was
optimistic
Matt Hancock,
about the future of
I'll
this
find,
country
I'll dig
in
myself a hole,
industries,
I'll jump in the hole,
across
and I'll
piece,
never get out the
including
hole.
digital or indeed film and television in my own constituency. We're genuinely world leading, creating high quality jobs that we want our children or grandchildren to have.
John Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Half the children in Newcastle Central are growing
Just
up
realised it
in
says Morning
poverty.
Brew in the corner
Over the
there.
last 5 years, the
Shouldn't
delivery
say
of
that.
food parcels to North East children has risen by 250%. The number of North East children who are homeless rose by 50% last year. On average, their parents' wages will have fallen by £1,000, and if any of this affects their mental health, they face a 5-month wait for treatment.
Yeah.
Why is his government making it so hard for our kids?
Yeah.
Well, I really think this House needs a correction on the facts, given what's come from the party opposite. It is the case that because of our national living wage,
Better.
defined as more than at least 2/3 of median income, that's at its lowest point for years, and we've actually lifted 1.7 million people out of absolute poverty altogether. That is the track record of this government.
And plunged many more into
Thank
poverty.
you very much, Mr.
That's your
Speaker.
track record.
People of Longport and Burslem, as well as Port Hill.
Oh God, it's Gullis! Oh! Someone make the bad man go away!
Like Staffordshire Waste.
Oh my God, Gullis! Just. Oh, you horrible man! This guy went to a private school, by the way. Privately educated.
What support can I get in holding these people to account and making sure that their retrospective they didn't get planning permission on before using is rejected by Stoke-on-Trent City Council?
Well, my honourable friend is right to raise this this issue of those kind of people, and indeed we often see them associated with fly tipping, which is a blight on our landscape.
I was changing the
will
sign.
ensure that I
Who's
raise
a troll?
all the
Who's a
issues
troll?
that he has raised with me.
Who do we need to get rid of?
Right honourable friend, the Secretary of State.
Give me a name and I'll get rid of them.
Ministerial responsibility.
Kick them out.
Rachel Maskell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Crisis mental health services are in crisis. Patients and families gaslit and at risk. It is Mental Health Awareness Week, but no government awareness to ensure my constituents are safe, nor funding and workforce needs met. So why is his government sat on their hands with a devastating report sat on the Health Secretary's desk while patients in York and across the NHS are being failed? Can I and the Trust have an urgent meeting?
Well, I'm sure one of my ministerial colleagues in the health team will be happy to have that meeting. I would just say that under this government, we've put more money into mental health services, and actually we're funding 150 wider capital schemes. So this government has made mental health services a priority.
Final question, Virginia Crosby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week is Wales Tourism Week, an opportunity to celebrate one of Wales's most important businesses, which represents 10% of all jobs, supports Welsh farmers and food producers, and generates £6 billion in economic activity each year. Would the Deputy Prime Minister join me in thanking all those that work in the Wales tourism sector, and would he agree
Try and make
with
it
me
so
that
that
this UK
messages don't
government's
come up on the
tips
screen
bill
unless
demonstrates its commitment to
it's
supporting
someone
the
we know
tourism
and
sector,
love. Put it
unlike
that way.
Labour in Cardiff, whose proposed tourism tax will undermine visits and undermine jobs.
Oh, shut up.
Well, of course, I'm most happy to give that commitment to my honourable
What about the
I've
VAT
spent
that they
many
charge
happy family
on
holidays
travellers,
in Wales
foreigners,
and plan to do so
people,
again next
tourists?
year.
Tourists coming here.
That completes Prime Minister's questions.
Oh, well, that's it. Thank God for that. Bloody hell. Now the kicking and screaming really starts. Oh, that was kind of painful, as it always is. I mean, I thought it was a bit more interesting than normal just because the what's it called? The Prime Minister wasn't there. But yeah, more of the same. More of the freaking same. It's kind of embarrassing, you know? It's just always just painful. Painful it is. Painful. Anyway, so I'll just get rid of that. Just get rid of that over there then. And yeah, I still got me setting up. Yeah, listen, if there's any trolls in the chat, just let me know, because I can't always see if there's trolls because I've got it kind of set up so that people don't come up on this screen unless I want them to. I think Hancock must be wanker with that name. Not children's toy cut to destroy Cam's postcode lottery. Yes, that's very true. Random amounts of money. I didn't realise Gullis was a bit fat. Says phone box chicken. Only saw the last few minutes. Was Corbyn mentioned or blamed for something? Yes, twice. The honourable member for Islington North was mentioned twice by Oliver Dowden in that really, shocking, shambolic as usual, not answering any of the questions, and just weird questions coming across from the other side. I wonder if there was a question about someone who died. I don't know if it was someone who was standing for the council or whether it was someone who was counting or something, but someone died at the count and basically they were having to rerun the election. And she was like, the best thing to do to honour their memory is for everyone to vote Conservative. And I'm like, shit, like imagine if someone had said after, Joe Cox had been murdered, the best thing to honour Joe Cox's memory is to get Brexit done. Oh, hang on, yes, someone did say that. Yes, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister at the time, actually said that out loud in Parliament, even though Joe Cox campaigned to remain in the EU. Tories, you see, no morals whatsoever. Just caught the end. Sally didn't miss much. You didn't, Samu. You really didn't. I'd like to be able to call them liars and also have proper fist fights at Parliament in the South American country. What? Proper fist fights in Parliament, like in South America. Okay, yeah. Most Joe Mexico. I think it was Colombia, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, best way to honour a dead woman is to vote Tory. These people have no shame. Yeah. It's phenomenal. It is phenomenal. I'll say it was unexpected, but it's not, is it? It's what we expect every week. I think whoever said we need to put an overlay on here, on various overlays on OBS. I mean, it's a bit more production. It'd be good if I had someone else doing the production. If Phil did the commentary for PMQs, then I could just give him the job. I could then do the job of adding the special effects and the little pop-ups to say, Jeremy Corbyn, vaccines roll out, delivering. The natural ability to spout lies continuously with so much outrage and conviction. That's what makes it so incredibly painful. Plum Duff, that's £5 super chat off Plum Duff. Thank you so much. That's really good of you. Thank you. Also, do you know what? I'm trying to just have a quick look to see if I've got a message off our friend Lee Corn, because I'm going to be on their show later. I think he actually left a message on one of my YouTube videos, so I'll have a look at that. And I'm going to be on their show at 9 o'clock tonight, the Snowflake Show with Reagan Elite and Lee Corn, which should be fun. And that's the video I'm doing right now. I'm trying to look on my phone to try and find this link. Probably not the best way to do it. Hello, Possum, says Conservative. Hello. A candidate died at the count before the declaration, therefore the election for that ward must be rerun. Okay, well, fair enough. But I mean, taking someone's death, which is tragic, and making it political, and then saying that the best way to honour them would be to vote Conservative. I mean, really? Do they not have any self-awareness at all? And then you had Essex McVeigh whining about travellers existing and not offering any solutions to try and help travellers, Because there's two things to this as well. If you help people who have that kind of lifestyle, then you not only help them, you help the communities, because they're not forced to do mad stuff like set up camp on fields that they don't own. If they've got somewhere they can go, but it's just not the way that this government runs things. It's just a horror show. They can only think of like nasty things to do to people. They can't think of a good holistic way of achieving a goal like the Good Friday Agreement that makes everyone think they've won. Yeah, the Tories don't like that. They just want everyone to lose, except for them, because they're rich, you know. A photo of Corbyn lurking with the Jaws theme tune whenever he's mentioned would be funny. That'd be good. I just have him bottom of the screen with a little fin coming up. Yeah, I like that. Let's have a look here. Oh shit, I need to move myself over a little bit. Liz Truss is in my neck of the woods this week. Can't escape her trail of destruction. Well, she's up in Scotland. Oh my God, what is she doing there? What? My last dying wish is for the party to be banned. Please honour my wishes. Yeah. I know David Packham has a soundboard. He does have 1.6 million subs and a large production team. Yeah. I've got 30,000 subs and I'm the production team and the main presenter and the person organising everything. Super chats are open, by the way. Anyway, so just having a little bit of a thought before I go about future content here. Like I say, I'm going to be on the Snowflake Show. So if you search for Snowflake Show on YouTube after this, you should be able to find it. You subscribe to that. I'll be on there at 9 o'clock tonight. We're going out live, I think. And yeah, on Friday, I'm hoping to have another Labour Social like we did a couple of weeks ago when we had Super Tansky and John Mortar and Josh from Movement Forward, and Asif Kapadia, the Oscar-winning film director of the movie Amy, who just randomly turned up. Didn't realise we were going out live, which is kind of funny. I said, "Are you all right? Do you want me to set the video to private?" It's like, nah, don't worry about it. But he also thought it was just a Zoom chat between us. Didn't realise it was going out on YouTube, which is hilarious. But I want to try and keep that going, so I'm going to try and organise one of those with different guests every Friday at 9 o'clock for like a roundup of the week. Talking of roundup of the week, we are planning to have a show with Phil Morehouse every Friday at 1 o'clock, in which we give a bit more of a political edge to things, because, you know, obviously Phil is a little bit more serious, and he really knows his stuff. He does know his stuff. So we'll be doing an episode of The Agenda every Friday at 1 o'clock if we can. So that's the plan at the moment. And obviously, thanks for sticking with us for the first 2 months of Labour Social. It's been, I know, a little bit ad hoc and a little bit not disorganised, but I would say there's a lot of organisation to it, but it relies on your technology working. And we've had situations where the technology hasn't worked, or something's just gone wrong at the last minute. But we have managed to get out an episode of Morning Brew every single weekday since we started, so that's pretty good. Well, Phil is the dungeon master. He is, because it's funny, because like if you turn around, he disappears, like Dungeon Master in Dungeons and Dragons. Anyway, so looking forward to that. So I'll be on tonight with Lee Corn and with Reagan Elite. And in the meantime, if you want to head over to our Discord server, I'll be heading there now and again. I want to make it so that it's after each show, I'll be on Discord for half an hour. If anyone wants to have a chat with me, if anyone wants to speak to me one-to-one, that's fine, as long as you're a member of the Discord community. The Labour Social Discord community. Then that option's open to you. In order to do that, you can either become a member on this channel for £4, or you can become a £4 a month, or you can become a patron for £5. But patrons, slightly different setup. So I will be looking into my YouTube membership level. But moving forward, when we have more content to share and more stuff that, you know, at the moment, like literally everything we're putting together is going out. But we'll get to a point where hopefully we'll be able to do extra stuff for our YouTube members and for our patrons exclusively. So looking forward to that. 2 months already. Wow. Well done, Graham and Phil, too. It's really great. I look forward to Morning Brew now as part of my day. Brilliant. That's a good start. Good start. And, you know, again, hats off to Phil Morehouse. Without him, this channel would have not grown in the way that it has. And yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant. And yeah, like I said the other day, I'm using his old computer, and that's why this broadcast is going out a lot more smoothly than it did when it was on my laptop. And there was a horrible case of pressing go live, and then my computer would just crash or just freeze, or just I'd be like, oh! I'd be like Hal in Malcolm in the Middle. I'd be like, oh, oh, oh. But yeah, so luckily, no big heart attacks so far with this beast, this gaming PC that Phil has gifted me. So yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks for all your comments. Thanks for the super chats, and I'll see some of you, I hope, this evening at 9 o'clock. Phil will be back with Morning Brew in the morning at 9:30, and until then, I'll say thank you so much for watching, and hello, good evening, welcome, and in a moment, goodbye.